Before we get into the rest of today's video, I wanted to say thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon provides you delicious and fueling cereals that you can eat at any time of the day. What made me choose to eat Magic Spoon every morning was their high quality. Their cereals have 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. They are also keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. Magic Spoon's variety pack comes in 4 delicious flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. Cocoa is my personal favorite. Click the link in the description to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code CORE5, that is CORE5, at checkout to get $5 off any order. Or go to magicspoon.com/core5. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click the link below and use the code CORE5 for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/core5, that's CORE5, to save $5 today. 57-year-old Sarah Roberts and her daughter, 25-year-old Sharon Roberts, were found strangled inside their Harlem, New York City apartment in 1994. A home care attendant, hired to assist Sharon, who had developmental disabilities, found both women deceased upon entering the apartment. The front door was unlocked, with no sign of forced entry. Sarah Roberts was found on her bed, and her daughter was on the floor with a wool stocking wrapped around her neck. A cassette video recorder and several $100s in cash were stolen. Investigators collected forensic evidence from the crime scene. Recently, with advances in DNA technology, investigators were able to create a DNA profile of the culprit thanks to DNA found under the victim's fingernails and cigarette butts left at the crime scene. This led them to 64-year-old Larry Atkinson. Atkinson dated the home health care aide that cared for Sharon. He is still with her to this day. Atkinson also lived in the same building as Sharon and Sarah. He is a career criminal and has a total of 28 prior arrests and served prison time on 5 separate state convictions. His time behind bars dates to 1985, when he was sentenced to 2 years in prison on an assault conviction and was paroled in 1987. Atkinson also did state time on assault, drug, and attempted robbery. He was last paroled in 2013 after serving another 2 years on an attempted drug sale conviction. On January 23rd of 2023, Larry Atkinson was arrested by the New York Police Department Bronx Cold Case Squad and charged with taking the lives of both Sharon and Sarah Roberts. He is ill with cancer and is awaiting arraignment in Manhattan from a hospital bed. The home health care aide, Celeste Cornelius, stood by Atkinson. "I know he didn't do it," she said outside their Harlem apartment. "I don't want you to misquote me, but I know he did not do it. I don't care about the DNA, none of that mess. He didn't do it." Their neighbor, Juliet Wilson, said Atkinson and Cornelius have lived together in the building for at least 20 years, describing him as a heavy-set man who uses a walker. "He's a nice guy. They don't fight about anything," she said, adding, "This whole thing is surprising to me." It's unclear why Atkinson decided to take Sharon and Sarah's lives. It is possible that robbery is the motive, as a cassette video recorder and several $100s in cash were stolen. William and Ina Campbell lived in a house on Jackson Road in Clarksville, Tennessee in 2010. They were both in their 80s and enjoying a peaceful life. On January 29th of 2010, the Campbells' neighbor Daniel Champagne tried calling them a few times. Daniel was like a son to them and said that they were his second mom and dad. He also had a key to their house, so when they did not answer any of his calls, he went inside. He found that the house had been ransacked. The kitchen cabinets were all open. Daniel also made a gruesome discovery. He found William and Ina in their bedrooms, each with a gunshot wound to the head. They had medical issues and slept in separate beds. Ina still had her oxygen tube inside her nose when he found her. It was determined that their lives were taken while they were sleeping. Neighbors told investigators that this is strange, as their dogs would have barked if a stranger came in and woke the Campbells up. It led investigators to believe that the person responsible knew the dogs and the couple. Their adopted son, William Roger Campbell, then became a person of interest. It was speculated that he would gain financially from the crime. No evidence that he took his parents' lives could be found, however, and the case went cold. Then, on June 21st of 2021, William Roger Campbell was arrested at his home in connection with the case and taken to Clarksville. He was taken to the Montgomery County Jail. Investigators did not initially give the reason of why he was arrested, but you have to believe that his appearance does not help his case. Detective Keenan Carlton had this to say: "These were innocent victims. These were people who were beloved by their community. They lived in their neighborhood for a number of years. Their neighbors loved them, and they're all happy to see some resolution." Keenan gave credit to detectives who worked the case a decade ago for laying the groundwork in the investigation, and said a recent review of the case allowed detectives to put the final piece of the puzzle together and arrest Campbell. His trial started in January of 2023. During the trial, it was mentioned how Campbell profited financially from the crime. Bill Campbell's estate was worth well over $130,000, and his wife Ina's estate was over $120,000. Altogether, their sole heir Roger Campbell received $180,000 from his parents' estate. It was also made public that he was seen leaving the crime scene just 40 minutes after police believe Bill and Ina's lives were taken. The fact that the dogs didn't bark was also brought up, as well as the fact that no valuables were touched. Jewelry boxes appeared undisturbed, lock boxes had not been tampered with, approximately $2,800 was still there, checks remained on the dining room table, and most shockingly, the guns were also all there. The son of Campbell, Sharon, described having a close relationship with his late grandparents, but had only seen his father a handful of times growing up. "I've been on this earth 35 years, and in that 35 years, I've spent less than 24 hours around him," Sharon Campbell said. After the funerals of Bill and Ina Campbell, Sharon Campbell was made aware of an estate auction that took place at the Campbell's residence. According to him, he was never contacted by his father to keep any of his grandparents' items as keepsakes. Linda Campbell, ex-wife of Campbell and mother of Sharon, also testified. At the time, she worked at the commissary. On January 26th of 2010, 3 days before the bodies were found, Linda was paged to Register 17, where she was startled to see Campbell and his mother, Ina. Before then, she hadn't seen or spoken to him in almost 13 years. Campbell struck up a conversation with her and told her he was in town visiting and would be leaving on the 28th. "I thought, why do I care when you're leaving?" Linda Campbell said. She had never been paged by Ina, William, or Roger before then. It appeared as if Campbell wanted to create an alibi. Agent Frederick McClintock, a CPD drug agent and crime scene investigator in 2010, said that during their detailed search of a crime scene, he found a bottle of Palmolive dish soap with a red-brown material on the back that appeared to be blood. In a field test swab, the material tested positive for blood. Later, this blood was identified through DNA to be Roger Campbell's. Bill and Ina Campbell owned an antique Lenskirch grandfather clock, and according to Andrew Smith, owner of its time clock shop, it was rare. Smith holds a degree in horology, which is the study and measurement of time. He had serviced the Campbell's grandfather clock for many years, visiting the home to perform maintenance annually. When he first laid eyes on the clock, he said he offered Bill Campbell $5,000 for it, coincidentally, in front of Roger Campbell. Bill turned him down, saying he knew the clock was rare and antique, and he wasn't willing to part with it. In February of 2010, less than a month after Bill and Ina's lives were taken, Smith received a call asking if he was interested in buying the Lenskirch grandfather clock. When he arrived at the Campbell residence, Smith expressed his excitement to the courtroom that he was finally going to be able to buy the clock. However, instead of his normal customers, he was met by Roger Campbell. "I said, 'Where's your mom and dad?' Smith told the court. He seemed nervous and shaky, and said, 'Didn't you hear? Mom and Dad were shot in their bedrooms.' Immediately, Smith tried to stop the transaction, he said, but Campbell insisted he was the sole heir and that he was able to handle the estate. When Smith decided to follow through with the transaction, he claimed that Roger Campbell tried to haggle by asking for $6,000. On January 23rd of 2023, 66-year-old Roger Campbell was found guilty of taking his parents' lives after about 4 hours of deliberation by the jury. He is now awaiting sentencing.